Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dog Classroom Podcast. I'm Amelia.
And I'm Anne-Marie.
And today we're going to talk about what it takes or what we should do to get into dog sports with our dogs.
Okay.
So, we have touched on some dog sports before.
Yeah.
We've done, a little episode talking a little bit about agility and scent
Right.
work and retrieve and those sorts of things. But what I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding on is the actual training it takes to get there.
Right. Okay.
Because we look at it, how often do people call and say, hey, I saw an agility competition. I want my dog to do that right now.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And it looks,
Yeah.
fun and easy in some situations, but there's actually a lot of work that goes into getting there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think ideally if you get your dog as a puppy, you can start setting them up, not doing dog sports, but setting up some of the skills that they will need to be
Yes.
successful.
Skills is the
Yes.
word. Because I think some training facilities, say, our class gets them ready for agility, this and that. I feel like our classes get them ready for anything,
Yeah.
like anything they want to continue. So when Amelia just posted and surveyed some of our clients and said, what did you want a podcast on? We found this one interesting because, we do get the emails like Amelia says, and they want to sign up for agility class. And sometimes the dog's 8 months or sometimes the dog's 4 years old. But unfortunately, they don't realize the work that goes into it. And they just assume that if they give their dog some treats on a particular object, whether that be a log or a tree or what am I trying to say, like a garbage can or that sort of thing, that they'll be able to do it. I think it's a little bit mistaken.
Yeah, well, and a lot of the emails, the calls, the stuff that we get are, my dog loves to run. They'd be so good at
Or
agility.
jumping.
Yeah, my dog jumps my fence. My dog jumps on the bed. They would love agility. And I'm like, maybe they would. That doesn't mean that they can do agility right now because of that. Same thing with scent games, for example.
Yeah.
Our scent games classes are based on finding treats and having fun with it in level 1. If you don't continue past that, or if your dog has never done any scent games, you can't then go and compete in a nosework trial.
Right.
Right, because there's more that goes into it.
Yeah.
Same with obedience. So there's competition obedience.
Yeah.
Just because your dog can sit and stay at home doesn't mean they can compete in that sport. So we're going to try to bridge that gap a little bit as to what makes the actual competitive sports different from my dog jumps over a tree on our block.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
So I think let's talk general first.
Okay.
Let's go with, my dog wants to, or I want to go to a trial with my dog. What does my dog need to be able to do? They need to be able to care about you.
Are we generalizing the type of trial?
Any kind of trial.
Okay, got it.
Your dog needs to be able to focus on you.
Right.
In a heavily distracting environment.
Yes.
Because there's going to be dogs, there's going to be people, there's going to be ring crew, there's going to be sounds, there's going to be the objects that you have been training with, so they have a sense of what's going on, they're excited. They need to be able to be focused and work with you, which doesn't happen just out of the blue. You have to build that. So that's why I'm saying when you have a puppy, it's easy to start building that relationship right from the start.
Yeah.
But even with older dogs, like I didn't do agility with Stark until he was, I think, like 4 or 5, something like that.
Okay.
Well, like competitive.
Right, yeah.
But we had spent years already training, building a relationship, building the skills that go into that.
Right.
Because we have worked together on so many other things. Being able to maintain focus in, whatever skill you're doing, whether it's obedience, scent, agility, doesn't matter.
Okay, so to clarify for everybody, what Amelia is actually saying is they need to be able to do different behaviors, not only in your house.
Yes.
You need to be able to take these on the road because the majority of trials or competitions is you're going to the venue. The venue does not come to you.
Right, and
right?
also for most types of competitions, you are not allowed to have food on your person.
Yes.
So that's why I'm saying your dog has to care about you. There has to be a relationship with you.
Yeah. A working relationship, yeah.
Yeah, and there has to be a trust that, like, yes, we are still going to reinforce all of the things that we're doing, but it's going to come a little bit later.
Yeah.
Or the behaviors themselves have become reinforcing because we have
That's a good way of putting
trained
it.
them that way.
Yeah. And we enjoy doing them.
Yeah, and the dog enjoys
The
doing
dog
them,
enjoys doing them.
which
yeah.
we'll also talk about.
Okay.
But I think when it comes to picking, what behaviors am I going to work on that's going to make me able to do this sport, it's not a set list of behaviors, right?
For each dog.
Yes, for each dog. It's going to be, that relationship and the general ability to work in those different situations.
Right.
Of course, there are certain behaviors for each different sport,
Yeah.
but in the beginning, when you're just working toward, like, okay, how do I get my dog ready for this? I don't know what I want to do yet. You need to have a strong working relationship. Go back to the episode on the 3Ds, listen to that one about distance, duration, distraction, proofing all of these different behaviors and working with different reinforcers or no reinforcers, and then
Right.
deciding what you want to do.
Right.
So let's say we have a little bit of a foundation. We'll usually have this conversation with our clients when they're in, like, branching out level, which is the third sort of core class that we have.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you for one
Okay.
second. 1 second. So what we try to do is puppy school, right? We start our basics, and then what we're doing is continuing to build. Okay, so we're going to talk in a minute once Amelia finishes her thought there as to what some of the core behaviors are.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
why don't you just go for that
Go
now?
for that now?
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll go back. So we feel, okay, and I have found it helpful, core behaviors, and we start teaching them young, and what we're trying to do is work through the first 2 years of growth and maturity, right? Because you go puppy, you go adolescence, and then you go adult. So the thing is, you have to sort of keep practicing and reinforcing those behaviors as they grow up, right? Because just taking one class and not ever doing it again does not work. Okay, so to me, the behaviors that I tell that people need that are in the classes, first of all, are recall. Okay, because except for rally, some of them are off leash, some of them are on.
Higher levels.
Yeah, some of them are off leash, some of them are on. You just want your dog wanting to work with you. There's a healing or a walking component in everything where you don't want the dog distracted pulling you around. The dog has to be, on a loose leash comfortably beside you, moving about. I think another major one is stationing, which is go to mat. Can the dog actually relax a little bit and lay down in an environment that is relatively busy? Because
you're waiting.
I was just gonna say you're waiting your turn. Okay, so those are 3. Notice, then stays can kick in there a little bit. I don't want to say it's a huge thing. A lot of people are sort of hardcore stays. I think I revert more to my mat as a stay because I give them an object to actually relax on.
In some of the sports, you do need a stay.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. So agility, we need a start line stay, right?
Yeah.
And distance work.
Yes.
And distraction. So adding any of those behaviors. So I'm trying to think, leave it.
Well, with Leave It, you want them to be able to look away from a distraction and look at you without you having to necessarily, like, with agility, we talk about the goose poop on the field because it's always there.
Yeah,
you can't
that's
be running
true.
around going,
That's
leave
true.
it, leave it, leave it.
Yeah.
They just have to know it's there and not
Be willing to not interact with it. Yeah.
I wanted to add on to that as
Okay.
well because one of the other main components when it comes to puppy school and beginning with basics is socialization.
Yes.
Not just playing with other dogs.
Yeah.
But when you're thinking of a trial or competition environment, I think what I have seen with some of our dogs, some of our client dogs, is they're very well socialized and that environment doesn't faze them as much.
Right,
Dogs
but they
can be walking by,
right,
people can walk
they
by.
learn to give the owner attention and work with the owner with other things happening, hence people, dogs, noises.
Yeah, but even when you're
Smells.
not working, if we're just waiting,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, we went to a trial where it was very cramped indoors.
It was very cramped.
Dogs barking,
Yep.
food, like people eating food, dogs playing tug, and our dogs were able to just kind of hang out and relax on their mats.
Which
And
was hard even for us.
I couldn't relax on my mat. No, but them being well socialized allows them to do those things.
Yep.
You
Agreed.
cannot take an 8-week-old puppy and say, yep, they're gonna hang out in this environment and be chill.
Yeah. I think the other thing to add a little bit is, because I'm thinking back to that trial, it was also the hotel room. It was the hotel.
Yeah.
Right? Because that, in a way, was rather interesting. Our joke a little bit was, for some reason, our room was right by the breakfast, the continental
the
breakfast.
bacon
Yeah,
smell.
we woke up to bacon every morning.
The dogs woke up to bacon.
Yeah, the dogs woke up to the bacon smell. But it's just that whole environment is new. So if they're really not used to that and really stressed, they wouldn't be able to be comfortable enough, where it was really nice to have them in the room and they're lounging and playing, which was huge, right?
And I mean, on that note, there's travel. Are they good in the
Okay, there we
kennel?
go.
And they go in the car.
There's
Like
travel.
there's so much foundation
Yeah.
that goes into the actual competition piece.
Yeah.
So where I'm heading back to with the branching out thing
Okay, go.
is when we introduce that class, it's called branching out because you're branching out. You're branching out into different training.
Yeah.
So we have tricks because there are trick titles you can compete in.
And the tricks are also good for warm-up.
Yes, warm
For-
up. There's canine fitness titles you can get if
Yeah.
you want to. There is agility, of course. We talk about it all the time. There is scent work. There is rally. There is obedience. There's freestyle. There's so many different dog sports. We want to allow you and your dog as a team to see what you both like.
Yeah, I like where you're going with this.
Which comes to my quote. My
Oh, we have another quote. Okay.
My daily quote, or my podcast quote that I have to do. Love the dog first.
Yes.
And the dog, or the sport second, sorry. Love the dog first and the sport second.
Yeah.
And that is because I don't care how much you love agility. If your dog hates it, please stop.
Yeah.
Or if your dog is injured, or if your dog, can no longer do it due to their age, stop.
Or
Right.
it's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's not enjoyable.
Because I know you love that sport,
Yeah.
but you have to love the dog first.
Yeah.
And I think,
appreciate their personality, and you need to work as a team.
Yeah. That plays into, I think, our entire philosophy, our entire program is these are our pets, these are our family, these are our companions.
Yeah.
Doing a sport is a bonus.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to that, maybe you see agility on TV and you go, wow, that's really cool, I want to do that, but your dog isn't into it. That's a consideration, right? And then there's also, the people with the really fast dog, the dog that they're going, oh, they jump through the bush. But, I don't enjoy running with my dog, or I'm not able to do that, or I'm not able to do agility. That's okay. You don't have to do that sport.
Right, but the other thing to look at a little bit is you're going to get into this. I know because
Go for it.
I read your notes, but you're going to get into it. The thing is figuring out, physically, mentally, emotionally, can you both do it, the dog as well as yourself? And even though the dog is great at running and jumping, if you actually look into agility a little bit more, is they actually have to follow a certain numbered path.
Yes.
They can't just go out there and take obstacles and do their thing. So it's also, the dog needs to be able to be, I don't want the word controlled. What do I want?
To follow your instructions?
Yeah, to follow instructions instead of just go out in there and run. And they need to be able to rein it in and follow cues, because we're the ones that have to go out and memorize the course 1 to 16 or 1 to 24. So the other thing is there is pressure on us as well.
There is.
Right,
Yeah.
it's just not the dog going out there by themselves. We have to be confident in our handling skills and be able to cue the dog and being able to remember the 1 through the 16.
Yeah.
In a bit of a stressful environment, and we all deal with anxiety differently. But Amelia was mentioning the best way to understand a sport is to volunteer at a trial or
watch.
competition. Watch or volunteer. I'm going to let you go with
Okay.
that.
The reason I said watch or volunteer is because I know, like, for me, it's a little bit anxiety inducing to go somewhere new to some sport that you have no experience in, people you don't know, and say, hey, I want to volunteer. I'm sure they'd appreciate it.
Right.
But for me, it's like, oh, that's a lot of pressure. I would just go and watch, right? And when I started with agility, it was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch other people do stuff and see what I can pick up. Because a lot of the time when you don't know what you don't know, you're watching so many things going on, and it's overwhelming. So I like to watch first, then I like to volunteer.
Yeah.
Because I think volunteering is a good way to be involved with it and to get to know the community and to get to know like what those people are like, what the dogs are like, all the different things that go into running a competition.
And then once you're more feel comfortable volunteering, then you can ask questions, and even building courses in agility or the scent work courses and stuff, you're working sometimes right with the judge.
Yeah.
And most of them are willing to give you a little tip here or there, but like you're working with them to set up things and understand why things work the way they do. Extremely helpful, and I agree with Amelia absolutely, is I learn a lot from watching other people handle their dog.
Yeah, and I know in different sports, there's different rules for spectators. Like in some scent work venues, you're not allowed to watch the course because it's going to be the same for everybody.
I see. Okay.
They won't let people watch.
Right.
Like it's in a closed off sort of space.
Okay.
But with something like agility or obedience, you're in an open arena, you're in an open field, you can watch what's going on. And with things like canine freestyle, like you watch crufts, there's a stadium full of people watching these dogs.
Or there's multiple rings going on.
Yeah, so not every sport is going to be exactly the same in that you could watch it without volunteering, but getting involved somehow, watching, even coming to a class. Like I had somebody recently email and say, I don't know anything about agility, could I just come watch? And I said, sure. Which level? Like what are you interested in? How to get there or what it is?
True. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because if you want to know what it takes to get there, you want to come and watch level 1. Because in level 1, we are not running courses. We're not luring dogs over equipment. We are giving them the skills they need to be successful to do that.
Right. So I think a lot of times the people's expectations for the dogs are too high. Because again, people want to show up in that first level, and we have a lot of people show up. It may not necessarily continue to level 2 because they haven't got on the equipment, but their skills to learn. I'm talking about agility and specifically, there's skills to learn. The same thing, with Kelsey with scent work is when she starts doing more common sense outdoors, they need to have the basic cues and skills to learn indoors. So there's a building of
the
skills. And not only are they mentally, emotionally building those skills, it has to be physical. And that's why I want to mention the physical component, because even rally freestyle, you're getting into tricks, the dogs are moving differently. Rally in general, they're doing some healing, but tricks as well. But the idea is they need to be physically fit to actually do those behaviors and not risk hurting themselves.
Yeah.
But so do we. Like any sport we take on, like I'm not going to go try out for the competitive basketball team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to start with house league or maybe, take a few lessons. Like we can't put too high expectations on the dogs. And that's why Amelia says we called it branching out, which took a little bit of time to come around with, but we give you a little bit of skills of everything. We introduce some more tricks, which is great exercise for warming up. It's great to get attention. I find, because I joke with tricks a little bit, people are way less serious. They have more fun with it.
Yeah.
Body awareness, that's something else. Like you get on a teeter-totter, this thin board, and see if you can flip it and not fall off. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's things to it. The other thing is, the joke a little bit is even with the rallies, walking in a straight line. Like how many times you see people out walking there and they navigate to the left or the right? Like, like sort of simple little things that they're building on. And I really think if you want to, compete and set your dog up for success, you're going to commit to the building of the levels. You're going to commit to the building of the skills together.
Yes. And so with all of that said, I think there was also something that came into my mind. when we have these classes, like when we do agility and stuff, like even just this week, I was talking to somebody, as we're recording this, we're in the midst of agility trial season.
Yes.
So obviously we've been talking to clients about whether they want to trial or not, or compete, trial, compete, they're the same thing.
Yes.
But I had a client say, you know what, this dog was really good. This dog can do all of the things. This dog listens. This dog doesn't take off, doesn't pee in the ring, like is ready. And the person said, we're just having fun, I don't want to. And that is totally fine.
Yeah.
Lots of us do that where like we're just out there to do something with our dog and have fun.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we can cut corners and that we don't have to do it properly.
Right. Yes.
We still have to go through those steps because we're not going to risk your dog's health and safety, the liability for us to say, yeah, just go throw your dog over, some agility equipment.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Because they can hurt themselves. They can hurt their back. Storm just hurt her back when they tweak. Sometimes they're super excitable and they take something too fast. Sometimes they overcompensate and hit the jump bar. You know what I mean? Or they have constant impact. And there's a lot of people in sports that after constant impact, they have knee problems, they have hip problems, foot problems, so do the dogs.
Yeah, so we need to be careful with what we're getting them to do and at what level. Like we're not just gonna take a newbie and say, oh, it's fine because you don't wanna compete, we can just forget that stuff.
Right, yeah.
And that also goes with, like when we're talking about scent work, where it starts, when we're using, little pieces of food in a basket and whatever, if you get to a higher level with that, your dog is searching up high, your dog is searching under things, your dog is searching water, your dog is searching cars.
Yep. They have to be able
luggage. They have to be able to do all of these things with their bodies, and they're not going to do it without the training. Your dog is not going to know that you want them to sniff out a certain essential oil without training, which is what they use in trials and competitions.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be able to do it if they don't have all those skills. Like imagine getting the dog who sniffs the luggage at the airport and just saying, go on this moving carousel, jump all over these things and sniff them, and I'm not going to teach you what you're looking for.
Tell me which one has the thing.
Yeah. So it takes a lot. Same with obedience. Like you might go, okay, my dog can walk really well in heel. Okay, but do you know what an obedience heel looks like? Because it's that cranked head, it's a certain position, it's, sometimes they want a contact heel where the dog's actually in contact with your leg. It's not just your dog can walk beside you. So there's lots that goes into it that I think you don't understand if you don't know.
Yeah,
which is
the thing is, try an introduction class. And you don't have to say commit for the next 6 classes in a row and you're going to do this and whatever. And you have to enjoy it. And I think the dog has to have a bit of say in it too. But try different intro courses. We've had clients take like almost every single class and then they go back and decide, well, I quite like this and the dog did quite well. And so they'll build on that. So, we're not saying that you have to go in there and commit, but try it and see if you enjoy it. Ask questions.
Yeah, and then there's also, when we're talking about the training aspect of it, like finding what works for you and your dog, and that might change. And that, like you're saying, sometimes people will go, like let's say, for example, they took parkour and they go, oh, wow, my dog really liked that, I'm going to go to agility.
Right.
The dog didn't like agility. It's not out in nature. It's inside in the winter. It's, it's man-made equipment. Yeah. Let's go back to parkour.
Yeah.
And there's so many different ways that you can engage in dog sports now, like with the internet and everything. Yeah. You can get parkour titles online. You can...
So I was saying is a lot of times we were talking about competition where you have to go to places, but now there's actually some competitions that you can do
even do agility online.
That you can do in your home or at your training, thing. Because of COVID, that all happened.
Yes.
But it's a bonus for us living in Thunder Bay for travel purposes, where if we can't afford, and honestly, sometimes it's what it comes down to, is traveling to different places, because I'd say closest for us is Minneapolis, or you guys are going to Sault Ste. Marie, but it's about, like you can still have that option to honestly do it in your home, but you're still doing the steps to get there.
Exactly. So I think the reason that this was such an interesting topic was because there's a lot of interest in dog sports these days. There's a lot of, like, you see more of it now with YouTube and TikTok and everything of, oh, this dog doing this really cool, parkour course, and I want my dog to do that.
Or they're doing little skits, right? Like some of them have where all the dogs are moving, doing this, this, and this. And
yeah, that's like the freestyle stuff. Like when you see, Crofts is a big one because they have such a big freestyle category, the dancing with dogs. And then people go, wow, I want my dog to do that. That's a lot of tricks, that's a lot of distance work, that's a lot of focus, that's a lot of working without treats. That's, it's a whole thing. And then, there's just everybody's lifestyle is different. Every dog is different. So just because, your other dog likes agility, this dog might like something else. Yeah. And then also just trying things and seeing what works for you and that dog as a team.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe we'll summarize a little bit.
Sure.
Since we're tight for time. But basically what we're saying is dog sports are fun, can be fun. Yeah. Should be fun for you and the dog.
Realistic expectations.
Keeping your expectations realistic, preparing them appropriately for whatever it is.
Researching, watching.
Volunteering.
Ask questions.
Proper socialization for your dog, proper level of fitness for whatever the sport is.
What skills do they need? Do your dog has those? Body awareness.
Yeah. Making sure that they can do it safely so that they can do it for a longer time.
Yeah.
And going back to agility, I just do that because that's my sport. That's what I do. But with jump heights, so jump heights have been changing. Yes. Over the years. Yeah. It started, and these dogs would be jumping these massive, like 24, 26-inch jumps. Yeah. And people are realizing the toll that's taking on the dogs.
Over time,
And now the organizations are making those jump heights lower. Yeah. So that it's
less wear and tear.
Less wear and tear, and then you can play the sport for longer. Yeah. Like your dog's not injured after 2 years because they've been jumping repetitively at that height. Yeah. They can do it for longer because...
And there's more like veteran categories now. Yeah. Right? So as they get older, you want them to, for cognitive purposes is to keep going out there and working a little bit, but you don't want it to be as taxing. So, yeah.
All right, so to wrap it up, if you have questions about entering a dog sport, about, trying something, or you have questions about the dog sport in particular, ask your trainer. Yeah. Like, we may compete in different sports or whatever, but we know about where you could find information about some of those things. And make sure that you and your dog are both prepared for the road ahead. Yes. When it comes to training, competing, if you choose to go that route. And just have fun with your dog. Yep. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.